what I want to talk about is why the independent voter is getting more and more important. We're going to look at 3 articles specifically on this. So, article number 1, as 2024 elections approach, experts discuss the rising tide of independent voters sweeping the nation. Political scholars and pundits explore why nearly half of Americans now choose to not identify with a political party during a Dornsife dialogue co-hosted by the USC Dornsife Center for the Political Future. Okay, in particular, why it matters, the surge in independent voters marks a pivotal shift in American politics. Nearly half of Americans now identify as unaffiliated with any political party. It's a big move away from traditional allegiances that is reshaping the political landscape. By the numbers, 2 decades ago, less than a third of Americans identified as independents. Today, it's 49%, according to a recent Gallup poll. Neither party has presented a platform that resonates with many Americans, leading to more declaring independence. Voters are disillusioned with the major party candidates, prompting a shift to independent identification. They say, we are dissatisfied with the way our elections are run. We are dissatisfied with the candidates that we're being offered. I think the trend will continue to go up. Independents are also somewhat misnamed. They're really Republicans and Democrats, this one person says, who don't admit they're Republicans and Democrats out of embarrassment or that social value of saying, I'm too smart to fall into the trap. Now, I actually disagree with this person when they say something like that, because it's not that you are a Republican or you're a Democrat and you just don't want to say that. I more have the belief that people are wanting to pick their opinion based off of different decisions without rabbit holing themselves into one particular opinion at all. So the intrigue of this is the dialogue highlighted the role of young voters, particularly millennials and Gen Z, who prioritize issues over party loyalty, kind of like what I was talking about. This demographic shift could signal a long-term change in party dynamics. The big picture is that with 2024 presidential election on the horizon, the rise of independent voters could significantly impact campaign strategies and outcomes, especially in swing states. The bottom line is the growing independent voter base reflects a broader sentiment of political disillusionment and a desire for new voices and choices in American politics. So this is article number 2 from Axios. Record number of Americans say they are politically independent. Okay, by far, the dominant U.S. party in the United States isn't Democrats or Republicans. It's the all shop around, thank you, meaning they don't want any part, they don't want anything to do with Democrats or Republicans. Now, what's happening? Well, it was never unusual for younger adults to have higher percentages of independence than other adults. What is unusual is that Gen X and millennials get older, they stay independent rather than picking a party, as older generations tend to do. The big picture, Jones points out in this article, is that the disillusionment with the political system and the U.S. institutions and the two parties are seen as ineffectual, too political, and too extreme. And here's a fun fact that I saw in this article. Every election since 2004, except for 2012, has seen the White House, Senate, or House flip control, and unsatisfied independent voters were the reason for that flipping of control. And finally, this Gallup poll, specifically, just 2 things to talk about, but in particular, political independents continue to constitute the largest political bloc in the United States, with an average of 43% of U.S. adults identifying this way in 2023, tying the record high from 2014. Independent identification has been 40% or higher each year since 2011, except for 2016 and 2020, but both of those times they were 39%, so still pretty high. Now, in particular, what does this mean for the Democratic Party and the Republican Party? Well, if we go to the very bottom of this article from Gallup.com, as 2024 begins, the parties are closely matched based on political party identification and leanings. However, Democrats are clearly in a weaker position than they have been in any recent election year. This is based on the new low percentage of US adults identifying as Democrats, as well as the Republican advantage in leaned party identification. In the past 4 presidential election years, Democrats had at least 5-point advantage in leaned party identification. They won the popular vote each of those years. The Republican Donald Trump won 2016 election based on the Electoral College vote. This presidential election year is likely to drop in the percentage of political independents, as has occurred in 6 of the past 7 election years. Still, even with a slight election year drop, which has ranged from 2 to 5 points, independents will remain the largest and arguably most persuadable group of voters in what is expected to be a close election contest. It is critical for each party, but especially Democrats, to nominate a candidate who can appeal to independent voters. In particular, independents control the outcome. And what really gets me as an independent is that though we control the outcome, we don't control the start. We don't control who gets nominated on the Republican side. We don't control who gets nominated on the Democratic side, but we control the outcome of the freaking election. And it's a little frustrating when you think about it, because why, like, it's just like, you know, you go to a restaurant and they just give you 2 dishes and then you get to, I guess, decide which one you want. And you never really got to choose in the process. And really, both of those candidates, they're not even independent minded either, right? They're either Republican or Democrat. And so there really needs to be something that changes where independents have much larger voice in political discourse.